Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and today's topic is about emotional distress. I thought about a long time how I'm gonna go about this because this is a very broad topic, and there were a lot of issues that a lot of you wanted to get into more. So what I decided to do is I'm gonna make a couple of series, and this is the first one, and it's gonna talk about what the main triggers are for emotional distress for INFJs and what we should be aware of um, when we're trying to heal and when we try to really build ourselves up. First off, the INFJ has yeah an energy that's pretty much like a huge void. It's like a boundless space, and we constantly look for meaning because what it actually means is that we try to fill that void with some kind of um, emotion, with just like physical things. It's like we're lost in this space and we would just want to put it down somewhere. Like the um, the enema of the INFJ is the ESTP, and this is pretty much how like an INFJ growth is considered to be going in the right direction if you're like becoming closer to an ESTP. So that's why sometimes if you had if you met an ESTP that you have a good connection with, you feel like they're fulfilling all your needs because they're filling up all that space. There's this video about DJ R&D posted it. I'll put the link below where he exactly talks about those energies. Like with ESTPs, it's like a all fulfilling, just like all fulfilling like energy that fills out the room, and they go about life and feel like they're just having like they're pushing, and that there's nothing where all their energy can go. And with us INFJs, it's like this boundless depth and this energy, and we always want to fill it. So what happens is that when we meet somebody, or we have some kind of expectation from, we have some kind of idea that something is going to fill that void, we kind of absorb it. We absorb this feeling. That's why we say when we meet somebody new that we like, we kind of start listening to their music, start liking what they like, and so on, because we want to absorb that person, all their energy. We just want to take in, so we have something to fulfill our space. And the problem is, which is the cause for emotional distress, is that when we have some kind of expectation towards a person or a situation, and we have thought this thing can fill us up or our energy up, and then it turns out that this cannot happen, then we kind of freak out because we feel if we let that go, then we completely lose our entire meaning, our entire being, our entire energy. It's like we lose a part of ourselves because we have absorbed that energy that was around us, that we want to be something part of us. And in INFJs have what's our so-called contact ethics, which means our FE is an extroverted function and we're introverts. So therefore, we're really easily um, absorbing feelings, or what kind of, we're absorbing other people. Like with an ENFJ, they like completely block that out at some point. They don't like to take on emotional stress of people because it just like bothers, like they're more aware of how it affects them. With us, it's not that way. It's like we see something we like, and then we start getting into it. We want to understand it, we want to capture it, and we want to make it part of us. And so when we lose that whole thing, we feel like we lose our entire being. This is an extreme case, of course, but these are always things, like even if you have like on a lower level of emotional distress, you always want some like a positive feeling around you, that you want to fill yourself up with. And if that person doesn't like you, or and you're in a situation that you can't have, and you'll lose that feeling, that's when you really get that emotional distress, because you're like really not just losing the company, but you're actually losing, you're like your being, you're understanding everything that's about you. what you think at that moment, because you like see yourself, and then let's say you're like a vessel and you have filled this vessel up with this person's energy, and you completely like see yourself as this whole, including that energy. You cannot just like really distinguish between you and that other person. And so what happens is that you try everything to keep that you're talking to them like one person, because this is how it feels to you. And so the worst part is when you have like everything filled and then you lose it, and then you have like this hole and you completely fall into like you feels like hell, because it's there's like no meaning whatsoever. It's just all empty. And this is actually what happened to me, like I think really intensely this year at some point. And from that point I really was sure that what I needed to do, um, continuing life, is that I have to fill up this void by myself. That's why I always say I want you to create your own addiction. I want you to create your own emotions and fill that space up with something warm, with a nice feeling, because you do have, there's, if you just know that you're doing this in order to fill yourself up, then you have a lot of chances to really grow, because you know every time you take on a challenge and you succeed, you strengthen your SE, you just strengthen your whole being. You're really getting into this world and you're putting something out there, and you also have to be aware of your own needs. Like that's why they say INFJs tend to be codependent, meaning that they're willing to do anything to keep that other person's energy in, and that we're like too compassionate, too nice sometimes, because we're not aware of our own needs. But we have that need for recognition, which is a completely normal thing, and sometimes we just don't want to admit it to ourselves because it's like a weakness, but it is something that you as a human need. And so you have to be aware of those things and really work on building that energy within you, just so when something comes around, it doesn't affect you that much. You still have boundaries. You still have to distinguish between you as a person and that other person. And you have to learn that in order to feel grounded, because then every time something comes up, it can mess up your entire energy because you're absorbing absolutely everything. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And this is like the main concept I want to work from this point on. I hope we can build up. There were questions about how to deal with doubt, how to work when we're we've been in a horrible emotional distress situation at work, and how we heal from that. Those are all issues. How we cope with that really low feeling, that depression phase, how to get out of there. I really want to talk about all of these things, but I want to use this as a concept that you visualize what's actually happening to you, and that point where you're really absorbing that other people's or that situation's emotion into you. When you have like absorbing feelings into you that you can't control, you are not aware of what is like really just you and what is others. So in situations like this, also your NI is not that accurate, and you have to be aware of that you have, in situations like this, you have to use objective ethical values to decide if this is wrong or right, because in such situations we feel like, yeah, we need to help that other person, or no, the situation needs to be that way. But if you look at it from an objective ethical point, from FE, you will find out that sometimes you have not acted right. Like you have to look at it at a third person's perspective and see you as an objective person, and see the other person as an objective person, and decide if this is going the right way. So it's important that you use that your judging function, your FE, against your NI, and not to support your NI, what we constantly do. And we tell people so often, oh, you need to use your NI more. I mean, we don't say it like this, but we think, just think about the overall situation, how everything is going to be, and you need to concentrate more on that. Well, you also have to use your FE more and not put everything into the hands of NI. Sometimes, especially if you really have that vision and you're just so focused on that and you want to fulfill you want to fulfill your energy, you just like make all your other functions of, they say, like NI's slaves, and that's just not being helpful. And that's the exact same thing with always glorifying our NI and glorifying INFJs. It doesn't help you anything. You have to recognize that you do have you do make mistakes, that your NI does not always act right, especially if there's some kind of an addiction or a dependency situation. And it's very, very easily for INFJs to get into these situations because we're so unaware of our needs. Yeah, so this is it for now. This is just for starters. And I look forward to your comments so we know in what direction we go, how you see this. And yeah, talk to you soon.